My child, give me your attention. I told you this moment would come. And through those quiet seasons when nothing around you seemed to be moving, I kept whispering it to your heart and stirring something within your spirit that you could feel even when you could not explain it. You sensed something changing while everything visible still seemed delayed. So open your heart now and listen carefully. Do not pass over this or let these words become another sound in the background. When I call for your attention this way, it is because something important has arrived. Something I told you would come, even after all those nights when you wondered whether you had only imagined my promise. There were days when you wondered whether you had misunderstood what I was preparing, and in that uncertainty, you questioned the timing and even questioned yourself. But I do not speak without purpose. When I told you something was coming, I meant what I said. And if these words have reached you now, the time you have waited for is finally here. You asked me for a sign, prayed for confirmation, and grew weary of trying to interpret everything, until your prayer became, Lord, make this clear. If this truly comes from you, please show me. My silence may have felt long, but my silence was never my absence. While you waited for an answer, things were being brought into place, and now I am speaking plainly. I am not hiding from you or covering my words in riddles. I am speaking to you directly. And if you have wondered why I chose you specifically, understand that it was never careless or accidental, because I saw beyond the crowd and looked at your heart, your endurance, and the way you continued when quitting would have been easier. I saw how you resisted bitterness, how humility remained in you through disappointment, and how your faith continued quietly when nobody was there to notice it. I chose you because I saw what you carried when there was no applause, and among many my eyes rested on you. It was not because you were perfect, it was because you were willing, and it was not because you never stumbled, but because you remained faithful in the small things placed before you. When others wanted to be noticed, you wanted to understand. When others moved ahead quickly, you waited when I told you to wait, and when frustration gave you every reason to leave, you remained. You may never have understood how much that staying mattered, but I saw every quiet decision to remain when walking away would have felt easier. Through all those seasons of waiting, I was preparing the season for you, even while you believed you were stuck, overlooked, or falling behind. Preparation rarely announces itself loudly, and while you are living through it, it can feel painfully similar to delay. Yet delay does not mean denial. Timing was being brought to completion, and this is the season I have marked for release. I told you that something was changing, and you felt it through subtle movements inside you. A restlessness, a stirring, the growing awareness that what once fit your life no longer seemed to belong there. What you felt was transition rather than anxiety, and although you wondered how much longer you would wait and whether you had heard me correctly, this is the moment I spoke of, the change you sensed before your eyes could see it. Do not scroll beyond this or treat this moment as ordinary, because when I tell you to receive it now, timing matters. Moments like these are not repeated carelessly. There are windows that open when someone has been prepared to walk through them, and you are ready even while part of you still feels uncertain. You are not late, overlooked, or forgotten somewhere in the crowd. And if you are hearing this now, the appointed time has arrived, neither too early nor too late, because my timing does not hurry ahead or fall behind. It comes into place. You may still carry doubt and wonder whether these words truly belong to you, because waiting for a long time can slowly wear away the confidence you once carried. But hear me clearly, these words are not meant for somebody else. I am speaking to you, and I chose you because I saw what you endured. I saw the nights when you had little support and still found a way to remain standing. And I saw the mornings when your heart felt heavy, but you rose and faced another day anyway. I saw the moments when questions filled your mind and you could barely understand what was happening, yet something in you still refused to surrender completely. That endurance was shaping you quietly, strengthening what others could not see and preparing you for this time. I chose you because I saw what you survived, including the things that seemed strong enough to break you but somehow did not. I watched disappointment touch your life without turning your heart hard, and I saw loss test your faith without extinguishing it, even when believing became something quiet that you could barely put into words. Surviving those seasons was not evidence of weakness. It revealed resilience that had been forming privately through everything you carried. And I chose you because I saw who you were becoming through it all, even before you could recognize that person yourself. You are no longer exactly who you were when you first prayed for something to change. Growth has taken place in places you may overlook. You have become more discerning, more patient, and more grounded through the very waiting you once wished would end. That season shaped you into someone capable of carrying what is coming without being crushed beneath its weight. So remain here with me for this moment, and do not hurry away, because what I'm about to show you will help you understand why this season unfolded the way it did. The delays had a purpose, the silence had a purpose, and even the refining you struggled to understand was not wasted. When doors remained closed, you thought you had been overlooked. And when you kept enduring without seeing a reward, you wondered why the testing seemed to continue. Yet beneath what you could see, I was increasing your capacity, strengthening the foundation within you, and bringing people and paths into place beyond your sight. You could only see the closed door in front of you. I could see what still needed to be prepared around you. You were not held there because you were unworthy. That pause was positioning you for what was ahead. This is your time because you endured rather than demanded it, because you were formed rather than forcing your way forward, and because heaven has marked this season. When I call for your attention, it is because something has moved in what you cannot see. And when I tell you to open your heart to this moment, it is because what it carries concerns you. When I tell you not to skip over it, I am calling for a response to what is being brought into place. You do not have to keep striving now. You are being asked to receive, and you do not have to keep proving yourself, when what is required of you is trust. The season of striving shaped you, the waiting strengthened you, and the silence deepened something within you. Now the season of revealing begins. If you are hearing this, your time has finally arrived, so allow that truth to settle more deeply than temporary excitement or emotion. You were not forgotten while you waited. You were being prepared. God is my light and my guide. And if He has shown you the way through darkness, remain here and listen closely. What is beginning to unfold is not random. It carries intention, and you are where you need to be as it begins. My child, give me your attention and stop what you are doing for a moment, because I am not calling softly right now. I am speaking firmly because this moment is not casual. These words are not background noise to leave playing while your thoughts wander somewhere else, because this is your moment, and I am interrupting the familiar rhythm of your day before routine causes you to overlook what I am doing. You were scrolling, thinking about other things, distracted and moving through the day the way you normally do. But I stepped into that ordinary rhythm because this cannot be pushed aside until a more convenient moment. When I ask for your attention, I mean now, not later, when concentration comes more easily, and not when you finally feel prepared enough to listen. You have spent enough time waiting for the moment when everything inside you feels completely ready. Hear me now. Now, understand this clearly. This is not entertainment, motivation, or a passing emotional high meant to make you feel better for a few minutes. This is divine timing touching your life where you are, and if you handle this moment casually, you may miss the weight it carries. I am not speaking simply to fill the silence or give you more words to hear. I am speaking because something has come into alignment. You may already feel resistance rising inside you, perhaps a quiet thought telling you to come back later, or suggesting that these words must be meant for somebody else. You know that hesitation because you have felt it before, and it is often how significant moments slip quietly past while you are still deciding whether they matter. So hear me clearly when I tell you not to skip this. Not because I need to hold your attention, but because you need to recognize what is coming into place. I have interrupted your ordinary rhythm before, only more gently, through a restlessness you could not explain, a thought that kept returning, or the same theme meeting you again through different places. You could feel something gathering beneath the surface, as though change were approaching before you had anything visible to prove it. Now the change has reached this moment, and this is not coincidence. This is culmination. When I interrupt your normal rhythm, it is because movement is being asked of you, and you have already spent a long time praying for confirmation, asking for clarity, and wondering when your time would finally come. Yet clarity does not always arrive quietly. Sometimes it enters the middle of an ordinary day and asks to be heard. This is your moment, even though everything around you may not have changed yet, and your circumstances may still look much the same. What makes this moment different is that awareness has arrived, and awareness can redirect your steps before the visible outcome ever appears. You have lived through enough delay to learn how to function while waiting, and survival became so familiar that eventually you stopped expecting anything to change suddenly. That caution helped steady you for a season, but now when something real begins to move, your first instinct may still be to question it, make it smaller, or put your response off until later. I am breaking that familiar pattern now because this is your moment, and some windows in life do not remain open indefinitely. This is not cruelty. Timing moves, seasons change, and when a moment finally meets the preparation that came before it, a response becomes necessary. You have been prepared for longer than you realize, even though there were times when preparation felt like punishment, waiting felt like being overlooked, and silence felt like being forgotten. All along, I was bringing into place what you could not see, and strengthening you within, so that when this moment arrived, you would be able to stand beneath its weight. If you pass over this moment, you do not lose me, but you may miss the alignment being placed before you. Alignment cannot be forced. It must be answered, and I will not drag you into your time when I can call you toward it. This is that call, and your presence here is not random, because among everything that could have occupied your attention, something caused you to pause. That pause matters. It has opened a doorway, but you still have to choose to remain present within it. This is not about hype or creating an emotional intensity that disappears when these words are over. It is about recognizing that what you have quietly sensed is real, that what I promised is beginning to unfold, and that the season is changing. You asked me to make things clear. You asked me to speak plainly, and you told me how tired you had become of guessing what everything meant. So I am speaking plainly now. This is your moment. You may not feel an overwhelming rush of excitement, and perhaps what you feel instead is a quiet seriousness settling over you. That seriousness is holy. It is the weight of timing becoming real to you, and the awareness that something is moving beneath what your eyes can currently see. You cannot enter the next season carrying every mindset that belonged to the last one, and that is why this interruption matters. Without clarity, you could misread what is coming, hesitate when it is time to move forward, or question what you are being asked to trust. This is divine timing rather than emotional persuasion, and divine timing does not need to shout constantly to prove itself. But when it speaks this directly, it calls for a response. And I am not asking you to perform or prove anything to me. I am asking you to listen, remain present, and resist the impulse to scroll away simply because the seriousness of this moment asks more of your attention. The same habit of distraction that once helped you move through difficult days can now keep you from noticing what is in front of you. You are entering a marked season, but before you can step into it, you must first become aware of what is happening, and that awareness begins here. If this work helps bring encouragement into your life and deepen your devotion to God, you can support it through the QR code or the support link in the description. There were times when you pleaded for change and watched as nothing around you seemed to move. Now something is moving, and you must not ignore it. You have grown through endurance, humility, and the quiet strength that formed while few people could see what you were carrying. Now you must also grow in your willingness to respond, because this interruption is mercy, protection, and alignment meeting you where you are. You may not see the entire picture or understand every detail of what is coming, yet somewhere deep within you, you recognize that this moment carries a different weight. It feels different, because it is different. I am not here merely to entertain you. I am appointing you, and I am not offering motivation when my purpose is to bring you into alignment. These words are not casual, they are intentional, because this is your moment. You do not have to force anything or manufacture a feeling of belief that is not there. You only need to remain present and willing. Do not reduce this to one more message or place it beside ordinary encouragement, because something in the timing has shifted. You have waited long enough to know the difference when something carries real weight, and this is real. Stay here, listen carefully, and receive what is being placed before you. Missing alignment is not about punishment. It is about delay, and you have already lived through more than enough delay. This is your moment, and I am calling you into it now. My child, I told you this was coming long before you arrived at this moment, long before these words ever reached you, because I had already begun speaking to your heart about what was ahead. My voice was not always loud or easy to understand, but you felt it in small waves and quiet thoughts that kept returning. And somewhere within your spirit, when everything around you still looked unchanged, something whispered, "Things will not remain this way." You remember those moments when you could sense movement before there was anything visible to confirm it. You remember waking with an anticipation you could not explain, even though your life appeared exactly the same, and lying awake on nights when a strange restlessness told you that the season surrounding you would not last forever. That was me preparing your heart before your circumstances were ready to move. At first my nudges were gentle, coming through recurring thoughts, words that seemed to find you more than once, conversations that felt too precise to dismiss, and an inward pull telling you to pay attention. There were times when you brushed those moments aside and wondered whether your own mind had created them. Yet what you sensed was real. I do not place anticipation within you without intention, and there were moments when you felt an unexpected excitement about something you could not even name, as though change were drawing close. Then nothing happened where you could see it, and doubt slowly found its way back in. You questioned your own perception and wondered whether you had misunderstood what you felt. Eventually, you told yourself to expect less because hoping had become harder after so much waiting. Yet your expectation had not been foolish. It was part of the preparation. Even though delay made what you sensed feel increasingly uncertain, days became weeks, weeks stretched into months, and you began wondering whether you had heard incorrectly or simply turned wishful thinking into something more. But I do not stir hope carelessly, and if I awakened that expectation within you, it was because I intended to fulfill what I had begun. You began noticing patterns around you, doors closing in ways that seemed purposeful, relationships changing quietly, old interests fading, desires taking a different shape, and things that once satisfied you no longer reaching the same place within you. You wondered whether you had simply become restless, but that restlessness was not random. Transition had begun before anything had visibly manifested. Along the way, I gave you small confirmations like breadcrumbs marking a path of phrase that touched something deep in you, a reminder that stayed long after the moment passed, or the feeling that unseen pieces were coming together. For a little while, those moments made you feel seen, and they reassured your heart. Then you had to wait again, and the waiting tested both your confidence and your memory of what I had spoken. You wondered whether you had assigned meaning to ordinary things or placed hope somewhere there had never been any reason to place it. Still, somewhere beneath all that questioning, there remained a knowing you could never completely silence, because my voice had continued speaking quietly within you. You may have called it intuition or instinct instead of something prophetic, but it was spiritual awareness, your heart recognizing movement before your eyes had evidence to confirm it. I was telling you, change was coming even through the frustration of watching things that once worked begin to stop working. I spoke through the discomfort of realizing you had outgrown places that once fit you, and through a quiet dissatisfaction that remained even when you tried to ignore it. That feeling was not ingratitude. Readiness was beginning to form within you, and you could sense something ending before it had completely ended, like recognizing that a chapter was closing before reaching its final page. What you felt was not anxiety, it was preparation, because I do not bring people into new seasons without first whispering that change is drawing near. There were also moments when anticipation nearly made you move before the time was right, and you wanted to force into motion what you could already sense approaching. I restrained you and slowed your steps, not because the change was false, but because it had not yet reached completion. Alignment requires more than desire, because timing matters too. You replayed those inner stirrings and remembered thinking, something is about to happen, only to look around afterward and find the visible world standing still. And because nothing appeared, you sometimes felt embarrassed that you had believed so deeply in something you could not prove. But you were not wrong. You were early. There is a difference between being mistaken and sensing something before its proper time, and you were recognizing what was forming before it was ready to become visible. You were ahead of the manifestation rather than mistaken about what you had sensed. I was also speaking through things that fell apart, through discomfort that pushed you beyond complacency, and through subtle changes in your thinking that caused old fears to lose some of the hold they once had over you. Those were signs that transition was already moving, yet you doubted, because you expected the breakthrough to arrive loudly and immediately. Instead, I worked quietly, where foundations could shift, pieces could come into alignment, and your capacity could increase before any of it became visible to you. Because you could not see that work, you began wondering whether holding on to the possibility of change had made you foolish, and you tried to become more realistic by lowering your expectations once again. Yet even when you attempted to put the whole idea away, that quiet knowing returned, because it was me. I told you change was coming to prepare you, not to keep you reaching endlessly for something beyond your grasp. Had everything arrived without warning, it would have overwhelmed you, so even the anticipation became a form of mercy, giving your heart time to adjust your mind, time to loosen its hold on old attachments, and your spirit time to grow stronger. You sensed the change long before you could see it, because you were learning to recognize what was happening before sight alone could confirm it. Now I am confirming what you sensed. The shift you waited for has arrived. This is not imagination or an emotional build-up you created while waiting. It is the fulfillment of what had been forming beneath the surface. You may still approach it cautiously, and part of you may hesitate to believe it completely, because waiting for so long taught your heart to protect itself from disappointment. I am not asking you to make a blind leap. I am asking you to remember what you have already lived through. Remember those nights when you sensed something changing, those mornings when anticipation arrived without evidence, and that quiet voice within you that kept saying, "It is coming." Now it is here, not through chaos or spectacle, but through pieces coming steadily into place. Your waiting season taught you to recognize the difference between an impulse and true timing, which is why this moment carries a different feeling. Steady, grounded, and real. Say, "Jesus, I worship you with everything," if he is your greatest treasure, because you are no longer merely guessing. You are witnessing. I told you it was coming because you needed hope to carry you through the waiting. And now I am telling you it has arrived, because you need confidence to move forward. You were not foolish for continuing to believe. You were faithful. You were not naive because you expected change. You were being prepared. And now what you sensed so quietly for so long is no longer somewhere in the distance. It is here, and the shift has already begun. Stay steady and remain aware, because what once reached you only as a whisper is beginning to take shape before you. My child, listen carefully, because I am about to answer a question you have carried silently for longer than you admit. Why you? Why did I choose you? Place my hand upon your life in this way, allow you to endure so much, and then call you towards something more. None of it was random or accidental, and my choice was never built upon your ability to be perfect. I chose you because I saw your endurance, not the kind that announces itself or needs people to admire it, but the quiet kind that continues when nobody is watching. I want you to keep moving when your strength was wearing thin. Hold yourself together when falling apart would have been easier, and get out of bed on days when you felt unprepared for what waited ahead. That kind of endurance revealed something about your heart that could only be seen over time. Many people begin with strength, but fewer remain steady when the road becomes long. And you remained. You passed through seasons that could have made you hard without allowing them to make you cruel. And you carried disappointment without letting bitterness become the voice of your heart. You lived through my silence and still did not walk away. What formed in you there was not weakness. It was resilience being built where almost nobody could see it. I chose you because I saw humility in you, even in moments when you probably would not have used that word for yourself. You did not move through life assuming you deserved more than everyone else. Often, you examined your own heart before placing blame elsewhere, asking what you could learn instead of remaining trapped in, "Why me?" That posture matters, because humility leaves room for growth, while pride closes what humility keeps open. Even when weariness settled over you, you kept enough openness in your heart to be shaped. You may not think of humility as strength, but I do, because it allows me to shape you without constant resistance and correct you without causing you to collapse. It allows you to carry weight without believing that weight makes you entitled to stand above others. That kind of heart is rare. And I chose you because I saw the faith you carried where no audience could applaud it. Your faith was not built around performing publicly or speaking the loudest words in the room. Sometimes it was only a whisper in the darkness saying, "I still believe." There were uncertain seasons when all you could protect was a small flame of hope, and because confidence did not always come easily, you sometimes assumed your faith must be weak. Yet faith that has passed through doubt and continued breathing carries a strength that untested faith has never needed to discover. You wrestled, questioned, and doubted at times, but somewhere beneath that struggle, you never completely abandoned what you believed. Even in moments when you felt empty, you did not close your heart entirely to me, and that hidden faith remained. I chose you because I also saw resilience in the way you responded when life knocked you down. You failed and rose again, faced disappointment and kept living, became confused and continued searching. Resilience does not mean you never cracked beneath pressure or never reached a breaking point. It means that after bending again and again, you still did not lose the deepest part of who you were. I know you have compared your path with other people's paths, watching how quickly they seemed to move, how certain they appeared, and how visible their success became. At times, their progress made you wonder whether your slower journey meant you were somehow less chosen. But release that comparison now, because selection is not measured by speed. It is measured by substance. I did not choose you because you never struggled, never made mistakes, or always walked with confidence. I chose you because pressure did not take the softness from your heart, because you remained teachable, and because even when your steps became slow, you continued instead of quitting. Perfection was never the requirement, and your mistakes, doubts, and wrong turns did not disqualify you. If perfection were the measure, no one could be chosen, because I look beyond actions alone and see intention, growth, and willingness. I saw that willingness forming in you before you learned to recognize it for yourself. You were willing to learn from pain instead of blindly repeating it, willing to admit when you had been wrong, and willing to grow when remaining comfortable would have asked less of you. That willingness carries more strength than you realize, even when you look around and assume other people are stronger, more gifted, or more capable than you. You cannot see yourself through my eyes. I see depth in you, compassion that suffering helped shape, wisdom that waiting taught you, and patience formed through delay. Those qualities cannot be hurried into existence or convincingly imitated. They take shape through endurance. And you have endured. I chose you because you understand the strength that grows quietly, without applause or recognition. You know what it costs to keep moving when nobody is cheering, to stand alone without allowing bitterness to consume you, and to carry questions without using them as a reason to walk away. Your journey expanded your capacity, and some of the very things you once thought made you less impressive became part of what prepared you. Pain taught you empathy, confusion developed discernment, waiting taught patience, and disappointment humbled you. Those lessons built something solid within you, because I am not searching for perfection. I am looking for hearts capable of carrying weight without becoming proud. I look for hearts that can receive blessing without forgetting their dependence, and move forward without needing to step over someone else to get there. That is the kind of heart I have seen in you, even if you do not consider yourself extraordinary. You have become steady, thoughtful, resilient, and willing. Those qualities carry greater weight than visible success. When I chose you, I did not overlook your flaws. I saw them clearly, and I knew they could refine you rather than become the definition of who you are. I saw your weaknesses and knew they could keep your feet grounded instead of feeding arrogance. Just as I saw your doubts and knew the wrestling could deepen your understanding rather than destroy your faith. Being chosen is not about becoming the loudest person in the room or reaching the destination before everyone else. It is about being ready in spirit, and you are ready, though you did not arrive here by becoming perfect. Perseverance is what prepared you for this. Release the insecurity you have carried, because my choice of you was neither accidental nor temporary, and it was never made because there was no one else to choose. I chose you because your heart passed through fire and, through everything it endured, remained intact. What shaped you under pressure matters more than the perfection you once thought you needed. This is where comparison must end, because you are not competing with anyone else to be chosen, nor are you racing against another person's timing. Your path has its own shape. What formed you had purpose, and my choice of you is personal. I chose you because you kept becoming, even when progress seemed painfully slow and clarity remained far away. You continued moving, and that matters. You may not be perfect, but you have been prepared. You may carry flaws, but you have remained faithful. You may know weakness, but you are still willing, and when willingness is placed in my hands, it becomes strength. Stand in that truth without placing yourself above anyone else, but with a quiet confidence in the person you are becoming. I chose you because of your heart, and my choices are not made carelessly. My child, I know how long the waiting felt longer than you expected, and at times longer than you thought you had strength to endure. There were moments when you wondered whether the promise had somehow expired, whether the vision had faded, or whether the opportunity you once hoped for had passed without you noticing. But hear this clearly now, the delay was not denial, the delay was preparation. You looked at your life and thought you were stuck, watched time passing and feared it was being wasted, then saw others moving forward and wondered why you seemed to remain in the same place. What felt like delay from where you stood was refinement from where I stood. I was not holding you back simply to frustrate you. I was shaping you so that what you had been asking for would not become more than you were ready to carry. And certain things reached you when you first prayed for them. Their weight could have overwhelmed you. Not because you were weak, but because you were still becoming. Growth needs time. Strength develops under pressure, and depth comes through being stretched. I care more about the foundation beneath you than the speed at which you arrive. There were parts of your character that could only form quietly, patience that could not be hurried, discernment that comfort could not teach, and humility that instant success could never have developed in the same way. Waiting became the place where those things were taught to you. Frustration became a teacher, and silence became a mirror that showed you parts of yourself you might otherwise have missed. You learned to remain with uncertainty instead of immediately panicking, to breathe when answers took longer than you wanted, and to stay when everything inside you wanted to escape. Those moments may have felt uneventful from the outside, but something important was taking shape within you. That was formation, and that was strength being built quietly. The delay was also protecting you, because there were doors you pleaded to enter that would have led you into confusion. There were relationships you wanted to hold together by force that would have drained you further, and opportunities that appeared promising while still being out of alignment with what was right for you. Had I answered as quickly as you wanted, you could have mistaken an open door for the right door. Protection rarely feels like protection while you are experiencing it. Sometimes it feels exactly like disappointment, rejection, or watching an opportunity disappear. Yet some of what you called rejection was redirection, and some of what felt like loss was shielding you from what you were not ready to enter. I was guarding your future from being exposed too soon, because timing is not built around convenience. It depends upon things coming into their proper place. Your growth had to come into place. Other people had to reach their own readiness, and circumstances had to meet the right moment. When one piece moves before the others are ready, what follows can become unstable. Meanwhile, you were being strengthened in ways that were easy to overlook, because they did not resemble the visible change you had been praying to see. Your emotional endurance grew deeper, your reactions became softer, your thinking matured, and gradually you became less impulsive and more thoughtful about how you moved. Those changes may not look as impressive as a new opportunity appearing in front of you, but they carry greater value than you realized. The waiting was doing work within you while you were watching for something to happen around you. Delay brought you face to face with parts of yourself that faster seasons might have allowed you to avoid. Insecurity rose to the surface, fears you had barely recognized became visible, and patterns that needed to change could no longer remain hidden. That exposure was not punishment, it was purification, and refinement rarely feels comfortable while you are inside it. It can feel like friction, pressure, and being stretched beyond what you would naturally choose, yet that process removes what could weaken you later. Refinement builds stability on the inside so that blessing on the outside does not throw you off balance. If everything had appeared immediately, excitement might have carried you farther than maturity could sustain, and you could have moved before wisdom had finished shaping the way you think. You might have begun building something that looked strong at first but could not remain standing when pressure arrived. While you were asking for immediate relief, I was looking farther ahead. Waiting also uncovered what you truly desired, because in the beginning, you simply wanted things to change as quickly as possible. As time passed, your questions became deeper, and gradually you stopped asking only for a different outcome, and began asking for understanding. That change in what you sought mattered. It showed how much you had grown. Type, I trust you, God, in every storm. If you have seen Him steady your soul, share this video.